Ugh. Ugh. Here we go. Here we go. We're having a sale on spy books, 20% off. Huh, you're not interested? This might well get you interested. Let me tell you the tale of the Indian 007. Let me set the scene. Hind, which constitutes India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and parts of Burma, have been under the rule of British colonial power for more than 200 years. They first came as benign merchants wanting to trade for spices with the ruler of India at the time, but shortly after the British are the British end of the day, and decided to ramp up their colonial plan and engage them in the Battle of Child.
Hey, what's that? Well, the old Supremo, wasn't it?
And they were.
Okay, what was that?
Death.
What kind?
Instant.
And so the British baited for time.
Now we play the waiting game.
And so after many years of backdoor deals and smidgens of insurrections,
Smithers, we're at war.
I'll begin profiteering, sir.
And hoarding.
the British slowly but surely took over India by whittling down all who opposed them, from the Mongols, whose dynasty died after the death of Zafar in Myanmar, and then to the small Hindu principalities who were in a Mexican standoff with everyone that moved. It's probably safe to say things were not looking good for anyone in the subcontinent, whether you were Hindu or Muslim. Once the British exerted their dominance over the vast swathes of Hindustan, they started to put the
We gonna put the squeeze on them suckers downtown.
and then they had the cheek to claim themselves to be rulers of whole of India. Suffice to say, this did not go down very well with a lot of people.
They done busted my dome!
They woke me up!
Official resistance, as by the late 1800s, was practically non-existent. For the vast majority, you would have either sold out or you were beaten out of power, and any sense of home rule reached a stage of atrophy, in which nothing could be done without the British knowing something about what's going on. These issues came to a head when some of the Indian Muslim scholarship tried to free themselves of their colonial masters with a Hail Mary in the Battle of Thana Bhawan. But unfortunately, it was a William of Wallace situation.
That they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
They won the battle, but lost the war. The scholars who fought in that battle had to make a very difficult choice. Keep fighting and end up like all the other resistant movements that have happened. Number 2, bow our heads down to the British like Ahmad Raza Khan and kiss their feet. Or we come up with something totally new. Oh, they definitely did something. Something that nobody expected, not even the British. The British had on their extended holiday set up Christian missionaries.
Begone to your satanic almshouse conversion! Leave here, damn sinning dog of a whore!
To try and persuade the populace of India to break from their traditional beliefs. This was all of a policy of breaking the Indians to become more submissive to their colonial masters. And so the response of the ulama, the scholars that fought in Thana Bhawan, was to create a seminary. I bet you weren't expecting that. As the same with the British, they thought they were going to attack again. The ulama or scholars, they called this seminary Deoband. Sounds familiar? The seminary was built to achieve a number of goals. Fulfill the task that Shah Waliullah Dehlavi left. Number 2, set up schools in which to teach academic Islam in a standardized form which can be used and replicated anywhere, and thus able to preserve the cultural heritage of Muslims in India and all around the world. The response of the British was one of
Stop it.
Not impressed.
And they even helped the scholars with administrative issues that they were facing at the time. And so from Deoband, a number of graduates and teachers would help set up all over India, firstly in the form of a religious capacity, but not before long the spirit of freedom was burning in one specific teacher in Deoband, a man by the name of Maulana Mahmud Hassan, popularly known as Sheikhul Hind, who became the pioneer of this movement. This movement all started with a meeting in Delhi with scholars and sympathizers of the cause.
What chance do we have? The question is, what choice?
There are no documentation of what happened in that meeting, but one thing that we can deduce that Ubaidullah Sindhi, a student of Deoband at the time, became ever more determined to free India from the clutches of its colonial masters.
I volunteer as tribute!
Shortly after the completion of his studies, he went and started his mission.
Okay, let's run.
His first task was Afghanistan, which his teacher Sheikhul Hind told him to go and see Amir Habibullah to support them in this struggle. He gave his support, but with conditions that he will stay neutral until the plan proves viable. And as a gift to the cause, he allowed them to make an FOB in Afghanistan. Maulana Sindhi was not deterred by the Amir's answer. In the late 1915, Maulana Sahib was met in Kabul by the Nindamaya Hentig expedition sent by exiled Indian Prince Raja Pratap. And within his expedition, he had members of exiled Islamic scholar Hafiz Muhammad Barakatullah and the German officer Werner Otto von Hentig and Oscar Niedemeyer.
Germans, with their embarrassed by these things of the past.
He also tried other nations as well as Japan, China, Russia to help with the cause. But saying all that, let us now move away for a second from Sheikh Sindhi and fly back to his teacher, Sheikhul Hind. Sheikhul Hind and Maulana Muhammad Mia Mansuri Ansari went to Hijaz and went to get the help of the Ottomans by speaking with Ghalib Pasha. After some time, he agreed to hold caches of resources, guns like Lugers and bolt-action rifles. And with Ghalib's support, Sheikhul Hind gave the go-ahead for Maulana Sindhi to go to Russia. But unfortunately, it took longer than usual because something like this happened.
Union will be pleased to offer amnesty to your wayward vassal.
The Soviet Union? I thought you guys broke up.
Yes, that's what we wanted you to think.
He spent 7 months in Russia and he spoke to them and said communism is not a natural law system, but rather it's a reaction to oppression. The natural law is offered by Islam alone. He attempted to convince them, but he could not give the answer at the time when they asked and they provoked him to give us an example of a perfect state run by Islamic law. But there was another man with Sindhi employed during his trip. He was the mouth of the operation of the Silk Letter, and his name was Pratap. In 1918, Muhammad Pratap met Trotsky in Petrograd before meeting the Kaiser in Berlin, urging both of them to mobilize against British aggression. Nazis and commies, if they only knew the future. Sindhi with this man went on their final destination, and that destination was Turkey, and that was to meet the one and only Sultan Abdul Hamid. He gave them his full support in spirit. He advised though that he has a great many fitnas to deal with. I can only offer cash at this time, and with the dua that India in God's name will be free someday. After a long time, he finally finished the mission that his teacher gave him. So he set off to meet his teacher, and I can only think of one thing.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
And so he headed to Hijaz to go and see his teacher, to coordinate a proper resistance. After planning a coordinated attacks, they wrote these plans on silk patches and sewed them to their clothes, in which they would send couriers to take these clothes back to India to execute these orders. But with every plan, there is a Judas.
It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
The plan was uncovered by a Punjabi CID who captured Sheikh Sindhi with the letters sewed in his clothes when he entered Multan. But nobody knew who gave that information to that Punjabi CID. And so with this, Sheikh ul Hind was captured in Hijaz, and then like Jack Bauer, was taken to Cairo.
All you need to do is talk to me. Mr. Burnett, it's really simple. Just tell me what the target is, and this will all be over.
They could not get anything from him.
Any tight lips? Where'd they hit you?
I ain't saying nothing.
And so he was sent to Malta jail with 222 Maulanas and dissidents to the crown. This chapter in Deobandi history has been marked in misinformation, as on one side you have the British claiming that Deoband was a radical Islamist jihadi movement, but on the other side, from the Indian side, it was a struggle against oppression. But whatever you may think, it laid the groundworks for India's struggle for independence.